Billy Donovan, he's another dude. He has proved a lot of people wrong. I did not, I think maybe it could be Chris Paul who's making the main impact, but you got to think Billy Donovan's got something to do with what they're doing. He's definitely a Coach of the Year candidate, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's done a great job.
Yeah, I think
with
most
that
people
team.
thought that because Russell Westbrook, I think most people thought that like Russell Westbrook not making it out of the first round was actually Billy Donovan's fault by not like having the right system around Westbrook. But then like this season, I think Billy Donovan's proving that it wasn't his fault. I think it was just Westbrook at the time was. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of
immature
Westbrook.
in the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think
he
he tries to do a little too much. He gets outside, like his strengths. He takes too many jumpers. Like I think
he tries to match up. In the first round last year, he tried to match up with Lillard, and Lillard's just, in my opinion, he's just a better player. And
yeah,
Westbrook
I mean,
was pretty
he's
much
just
trying. He was just
scorer.
forcing a lot to kind of get the last laugh at Lillard, but in the end, it just kind of caused inefficiency on his part. He did have a good series, but
yeah.
I think that I don't think you go out in the first round 2 years in a row by accident. There have been teams in the past with below average coaches that have gone far because they're good. For example, even the Sixers last year, I don't think Brett Brown is very good of a coach. I think he's done a bad job
I don't think so
handling
either.
Al Horford with that system. I think you need to play him in more of a pick and roll, passing type of, like a floor general kind of role for a big man. Like a secondary or a third option passing and setting screens and things like that, because that's what he's good at. But you have him playing like he's a spot-up three-point shooter. Anyway, they made Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals last year and were a shot away from potentially winning and going to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think that if they could win with a poor coach, and there have been other examples in the past, I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's just Westbrook and Paul George. I think they just underperformed in the playoffs. So I think Billy Donovan's kind of had a bad rap. I think he's better than people are giving him credit for.
Yeah, another example is LeBron. Every year, I don't think
he did not.
Okay, I have no place to talk here because what?
LeBron was coaching those teams. You see him on.
I mean, obviously. I mean, I feel like he just outcoaches the opponent's coaches. Like, as crazy as that is, I don't want to hate on any coaches because they're NBA coaches for a reason. They're all good. Like, but however, I just think most coaches.
Tim Duncan's hair.
I mean, of course. But like Tyronn Lue, I just don't know, man. Like the Cavs, they ran a lot of isolation. Like most of the team revolved around LeBron isolating or trading for one of his teammates, or just mostly shooters.
It's funny you brought that up. Yeah, it's funny you brought that up. I'll add on when you're done because that brings up a good point.
Yeah, it's just like I don't think it's Tyronn Lue's fault. I just felt like he could have at least implemented some sort of system, like at least as like a backup, because like as great as LeBron is, like isolation scoring only gets you so far against the team that's like the Golden State Warriors, where they're just they're just better at scoring than your team is. So I felt like he could have implemented some sort of system, like maybe like based on like what the Warriors do with movement and like setting screens for the shooters. I mean, Cavs got plenty of those that year. So
yeah, definitely.
I just felt like he could have implemented some sort of system that could have, at least like maximized the team's potential.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up because when they were making the finals 2015 everybody was injured, so you kind of had to rely on him to isolate and get his buckets. But 2016 and 2017, when they had their big three and they won one year and then they lost the next year in 5, I've been watching some of those games. They're airing them on ESPN. Kevin Love in the 2016 series and when they won in 7 games, they did win that series, but Kevin Love only had 3 games with double digits. He was scoring 7 points, 8 points. He had 2 points in one game. The fact that your third option, who was an all-star, in Minnesota and regarded as one of the best big men in the league, they were playing so much ISO. It was LeBron's turn, then Kyrie's turn, then LeBron's turn, then Kyrie's turn. Then maybe even J.R. Smith got an ISO every once in a while because he's good. He can handle the ball and chuck up a 3. So, but Kevin Love, I was watching the series. He looked lost. He would just kind of stand in the corner, set a screen, maybe get a rebound, but he was very timid to shoot. And I
Oh
think
yeah,
that
and
Tyronn Lue did a bad job. You gotta implement him in your offense more, make him more confident. Because imagine if, the next year when they lost in 5, the reason why they lost, you look on paper, obviously that was a super team with Clay, Stephen, and KD, obviously. And Draymond was still good at the time. Draymond, still an impactful player today. But Kevin Love still wasn't averaging, 15 a game. You got to get him involved so then he can give you 20 a night, which he's capable of. So then you can get maximum out of all 3 players, because you know what Kyrie and
yeah.
LeBron are going to give you. But you got to give Kevin Love the confidence to shoot. That's what they did after Kyrie left, and he averaged 20 in the playoffs.
Yeah, like what I felt like, I don't know. I'm sure this isn't all Tyronn Lue's fault, but I felt like the problem was they basically treated everyone that wasn't LeBron and Kyrie as a spot up shooter.
Yep.
I think that was the main problem. Like it was just Kyrie isolation, LeBron isolation, and then if they can't get something going, just pass it out to the shooter. And I think that's what happened to Kevin Love. They didn't
Got
give
lost
him
in the
enough
mix.
touches in the post. Yeah, he didn't have a role. Like he came, like he was a superstar in Minnesota, and then he went to being from that to like a double machine to being just a spot up shooter where he would maybe get like a third of the touches he used to get.
It's hard when you're in a big 3. The same thing happened in Miami with Chris Bosh. He went from a 20-point per game scorer, 25-point per game scorer to like 16 points a season. His shots were down. In the finals, he would have games where he was scoring 11, 12 points because he was only getting like 9 or 10 shots.
Yeah.
And I think when it's a big 3 and 2 of the players are superstars and the third player is an all-star, I think the all-star kind of gets treated like just an average role player in some cases. And I think that some has to do with the coach, but I think it was different in Miami. They had a great coach in Eric Spoelstra, and they were able to find ways to get Bosh implemented. I just think that in Cleveland, they definitely would have had a better chance of winning if they would have done a better job implementing.
Yeah,
him.
I think they did a good job. It just they could have done a little more. That's just what I think.